Hi guys, it's Becky, and I feel like making some earrings today. Earrings are one of my favorite projects to do. They are low stakes project. They don't take a ton of work, and you have like an immediate finished object that you can wear for the rest of the day if you want, or out to dinner, or to a New Year's Eve party, or something like that. And with that in mind, we still have a couple of days. We still got time to get ready for New Year's. And I thought I would use both my Deco the Halls design kit from Softflex. This is one of the Softflex design kits. They are not a subscription, but every month they release a new design kit with coordinated findings and beads and all sorts of fun stuff that you can make. And I thought I'd also use my Dollar Bead Box and Bag kit because it is such a similar color scheme that this whole project will be really cohesive. And I thought I'd make 3 earrings from this box and 3 earrings from this box. And we just do it all together like a little earrings party. So we can get these made, and so you guys can maybe have some ideas of things to make if you haven't already planned out your outfit, or you just want to add some sparkle to your day, because you know what? I love adding a little sparkle to my day. And this is just to show you, I made these yesterday. It was my Goddess bracelet bash, and I used the Softflex design kit for this one, and I used the Dollar Bead bag check glass beads for this one, and look how great they look together. It's like they were made to go together. Anyway, so I have some ideas. I've been letting some ideas percolate in my brain. I have others that are probably going to pop up while I'm trying to put some things together. So it's sort of on the fly, sort of not on the fly, but I've got both of these, Dollar Bead Box, Dollar Bead Bag. I've got the Softflex design kit, and I actually just left some of these out from yesterday's bracelet bash, so I wouldn't have to put them away and take them out again for that. I've got some earring wires already made. I've got some head pins in case we need those. I have some jump rings in case we need those. I have, where did it go? I just had it. I have some beading wire because we can make earrings with beading wire. That is something that we have been learning how to do. And I've got some crimp tubes and a magical crimper for crimping. With these, I've also got some craft wire. I've got 20 gauge and 22 gauge craft wire that we can use, and I've got some flush cutters for those, some chain nose pliers, some round nose pliers, some 6-step bail making pliers, and I think that's about all that I want to use for this, for our wire working. But yeah, so I've got my tools, I've got my things ready, and I want to just sit down and make some earrings because it is tons and tons of fun to make earrings. One of my favorite things. I think I'm gonna actually put these back in here while I am doing things around. I may go ahead and use these hex beads. And I definitely am probably going to be using these barrel beads. So I only had one out on my tray. I'm going to go ahead and stick a second one out there over here. I'm definitely going to use these Art Deco fan beads. These are from the Softflex design kit, by the way. I think I'm going to use these pearls. Let me actually grab out the larger ones too. Stick those over there. And I may also be using, I'm definitely going to be using these sun findings and these flower petal findings. I have an idea for something I can make with them that's going to be pretty high impact. Come on. It's stuck in the box. I'm just going to use my pliers to pull them out of the box. Bloop, bloop. And you know, there's a bunch of other beads that I could be using as well, but I think that's going to be project number 1. Ooh, and I want to add these bead caps, these filigree ones, because it's the exact same color of gold as this, so I think that they will go really well together for that. And I probably will pull out some other findings when I am in the middle of making things. Let's stick with my ideas that I have right now. Ooh, no, these drop beads. That's going to be great. Ooh, and I love these guys. These ones with the diagonal faceting. They're great. They are Great. They're great. Okay, so let's put these over here on the side, and then we will pick our beads and findings out for our Dollar Bead Box, Dollar Bead Bag stuff. All right, so I've got some stuff for the Softflex one, and we also had some Art Deco fan beads with this one, and these are different finishes, sort of, mostly, like, but I'm gonna actually use these in another design over here. I love these faceted pearl beads, so I am going to figure out a way to work them into it. I am definitely going to be making something with a couple of these 2-hole, like, hexagonal pyramid beads. They are large and beautiful and such a great color. And then we've got these large beads too. That's going to make some great earrings. So let's get those out. And I think I'd like to maybe do something with some of these flowers. I'm just pulling stuff out, and we will put them together in a little bit. We've got this vitriol, silver vitriol colored round druck beads that are the same finish as these spike beads, and I think these are going to go together really nicely with those. That's my ideas anyway. And maybe some of these seed beads. Whoop. I just spilled them all over the place instead of putting them away in a specific spot for later. I still have a couple of these check glass beads from this project on my bead mat, but I'm going to grab a couple of other check glass beads from here, and these are going to be the 3mm ones. See, I used the 4mm for this. I'm going to use some 3mm here, and I think for these I'm going to want these solid gold ones. So let's go ahead and stick them up here next to those. Maybe the black ones too. The black and gold. All right. Now I haven't completely figured out what I'm going to do. I have some ideas. We will... Oh, wait. There's one other. These leaf charms. These are going to be fantastic in one of my little projects that we're doing with these. All right. Yeah, I think I can figure out 3 different pairs of earrings from these beads. Let me put these in their little sections so they're out of the way. Actually, maybe I'll leave these out. We'll start. No, maybe. I'm not sure which I want to start with. So let me think about these for a minute. Let's do a couple of the easier kind where we just stack some beads on like an eye pin maybe, and have a little dangle at the bottom, and some others. I'm going to think about this. All right, so I thought about it, and I've got at least 3 that are going to be the real simple, easy to knock out. Let's get it done. Kind of drop earrings with a little bit of a dangle on the bottom. So let's grab some head pins and make some dangles first. These ones are with beads from the Softflex design kit, and these 2 are both from the Dollar Bead Box and Dollar Bead bag. So on this one, I'm grabbed one of these spacers with the roses on them. And that's going to be right down at the bottom of my head pin. It'll be like a fancy ball head pin, basically. And then I'm putting my little barrel bead right there. And everything that I do on one of these, I'm going to do on the other. But I'm only going to do one on camera. All right, so I'm bending that over at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to cut off my excess wire before I bend it for making a simple loop. And simple loop, because these head pins are pretty rigid as far as the wire goes, they're not going to be great with wrapped loops. So, oh, Natalie, you don't have to yell at everybody who is in their yards. They're allowed to be in their yards. They're allowed to be in their yards, guys. Oh, Nats. This is what happens when I open up the window, because it's a really, really lovely day. And my dogs like to sit at the window and watch things that are going on in the neighborhood. But I opened it up, I've got a screen, so that they could have some smells, because they enjoy smelling things too. And when I do that, Natalie feels like she has to yell at everybody, because that's who she is as a dog. Ellen is noisy by whining, Natalie is noisy by yelling. And so that is what she is doing right now. So let me get my second head pin done while I am still talking to you. And I grabbed one of these 3mm fire polish beads, the one that has gold on half and it's matte black on the other. And that's going to be right here at the bottom of this head pin. And I grabbed these faceted pearl beads because they are gorgeous and I love them. They're actually going to be in a couple of my different earrings because they are so pretty. And that's going to be at the bottom of this drop. So let me get this bent over and make myself a little simple loop at the top of that. Just measuring with my finger, that's about 1 centimeter. You can measure with whatever you want. All right, I managed to hang on to that one. And then I use my round nose plier to round it back off. And it's much easier for me to talk about this when I'm not yelling at my dog and telling her not to yell at our neighbors. So there's our little drop there. This one doesn't need a drop because it has a little hole in it. And this actually has 2 holes. So I suppose I could do something fun with it. Ooh. Ooh. I actually just had an idea. Hold on. I'm pulling these guys out. And then I'm gonna turn this into a drop, even though I could just put it through the loop that I make. I'm gonna do something else with this, and it's gonna be even better. All right, I am going to pull off about 4 inches. Let's do 4 inches of 22 gauge wire. All right, and I'm going to want this to have kind of a U shape on one end. So let's do about maybe 2 inches down. I'm going to bend this over, but I'm not going to cross it over. And I'm going to try and get this to sit right there in that U shape. This small 3mm fire polish bead right there at the bottom of that U shape. I might need to make it less bendy so that that fits there better. Okay, I'm gonna bend that back around on both sides like that. Now I'm going to go the longer end through this hole on the top of this leaf and the shorter end through this hole at the bottom of the leaf. And this part's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm kind of pinching this together so that it will fit in here. Whew. All right, let's see if I can do this without making a mess of my beads or my wire or my finding, because this is kind of a delicate leaf. I don't want to bend it too much. All right, well, this isn't really working with wire. It might work better if I did it with thread, but I am not using thread in this. I'm just using wire and beading wire. So, ooh, maybe the beading wire. Hold on, let me grab that beading wire. Nope. I'm gonna do it the way I originally intended to do it, and that is by having loop at top, loop on bottom, and stacking these beads. We're doing it easy. I'm trying not to make it too complicated for me. So let's go ahead and get myself another 4 inches. I'm gonna start over with this. And I want to make a wrapped loop down here. So a couple of inches or 2 fingers from the top. I'm going to bend it back and then around. And I'm going to use the smallest loop on my 6-step loopers. Cross it over. If you're using round nose pliers instead, because you don't have to use 6-step loopers. And actually, let me get a little closer so that we're not as distracted by everything else on my mat. I am sorry about that, and I hope that this wasn't going in and out of focus and driving you crazy. So that's about 1/3 of the way down. That's the size that I'm doing if you're going to use these. So it helps if you don't drop your wire while you're in the middle of using it. Just use this one. There we go. Less distracting. And I'm going to want to wrap this, but before I do that, you were getting ready to yell at me, weren't you, Maria? I'm going to put on my little leaf charm down here. Let's just open that up a wider so that it'll slide on. Close up my loop. Like that. I'm going to hold both sides of that loop while I use my finger to do a few wraps. Like 3 is fine, 2 is fine, couple is fine. As far as wrapping around that. Alright, so now I've got my wraps. I'm going to cut off my excess with my flush cutters. Just give this a little smoosh to smoosh down any of my edges. So I've got that on there. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to stack my other beads on top of this, starting with my gold 3mm fire polish bead, my Art Deco fan bead, my pearl. Look how gorgeous that pearl is. That is so pretty. And then another one of these. And that is something that I can hang from my earring or my ear and then wear with these. And it gives me a great like 1920s sparkling champagne, Art Deco, New Year's Eve vibe. All right, so up here at the top, I'm gonna make another wrapped loop. So if I can see the circle while I'm holding this, it means I can bend this back along the top of there. And that way, this circle, when I'm facing it this way, will face me. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that around the top of my 6-step bail making pliers. And I'm using my smallest loop there too. And then I'm just gonna wrap all the way down around here. Bloop. And that is my first earring. Everything that I do with the first one, I'm gonna do with the second, but I'm gonna do that off camera so that it's not super repetitious for you. And so that you can see some of the other things that I'm making. So like I did a 2-hour tutorial yesterday and I don't think everybody wants a 2-hour tutorial, do ya? Like maybe a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, that'd be fine. And I have some of my handmade ear wires to hand already. I'll put a link in my description to my little video that shows you how I like to make my new favorite ear wires. So you've got that one, that's the first one, and that was using the Dollar Bead Box, Dollar Bead bag for December. The second one from the same Dollar Bead Box, Dollar Bead bag is I'm going to be using some of these great faceted beads, a couple of these flower beads, but I'm going to use them as bead caps with this. And I made that drop a little bit earlier with the pearl and this black and gold fire polish bead. So let me put a couple of these over here so that they are available for me to make stuff with later. And we'll put this one together and we're going to basically be doing the same type of stacking our beads on a wire. You can use a eye pin if you've got it instead of using like the 22 gauge wire. That's fine. All right, and we've got another 4 inches of wire. And right here about 2 inches down, I'm gonna go ahead and start a wrapped loop. And because this drop, I used a simple loop for that, that's gonna make it a little bit easier for me in making this because I can go ahead and wrap this right here without having to attach my drop first. That's just a little thing that is going to make my assembly a little bit easier. If you're making like a bunch of these, you can go ahead and do a bunch with of these stems with the wrapped loops and then put everything together later. If you're making more of them. All right, so all I'm going to do now is, you see how there's kind of a curved end to these flower beads? I'm going to put that curved end pointing away from this black faceted bead, like that. And on the top, I'm going to put the curved end pointing away from that too, like that. You could have it point towards it, you know, play around with it, see what you like better with the way it looks. I just want it to look a little bit like a wrapped piece of candy. You know what I mean? Like it gives a little bit of that wrapped candy vibe there. And for this, it doesn't matter which way my loops go, because there is no like front or side that it's going to matter with. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and do my wrapped loop here now that I've got these guys on here. I'm going to wrap this all the way down. This is a super quick, super easy earring. If you only have like 20 minutes to make an earring in, it's really great. Really great design. I'd say it's super quick and super easy, and then I struggle with the end of that wire and tapping it in. But we've got that, and then you can put this on here. And so I'm going to use my chain nose plier to swing open this simple loop. Attach it to the wrapped loop that I made in the first step. And now I can put an ear wire on that. All right, and that is my second earring. And this was my second one from the Dollar Bead Box, Dollar Bead bag. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'll make the second pairs later. And then while I'm still doing the easier, let's stack some beads kind of earrings, I'm going to use these pearls and these hex beads and this drop that I made earlier with the barrel bead and that spacer. So let's get these set aside for my second one. And I'm going to go ahead and grab, again, more 22 gauge wire. And we're going to do the same thing. Let's do 4 inches. One of these days I'll get better at holding things. Probably not. I'm probably just going to get worse at it. And again, with this, because I did a simple loop on the end, I don't have to attach my dangle before I wrap. I can just go ahead and go straight into wrapping my loop. This is going to be simple, classy, elegant, not quite minimalist. I think minimalist might be just the pearl on its own, which wouldn't be a bad thing, let's be honest. Then we've got our faceted hex bead right on top of it. And another pearl. Scooch that down, and let's do another wrapped loop up here or down there. Since it's the same, it's kind of a palindrome of beads. It doesn't matter if this is the top or the bottom of this stack. I can switch them around any way that I want. All right, so now that they are both on there, and this would make a great link in like a wire wrapped chain as well, I think. In a necklace, and I'm getting ideas for necklaces now. So let's go ahead and swing open my simple loop down here. Loop that onto here and get a ear wire through the top, and this is my third earring. My first one from the the Deco the Halls kit. Again, it goes really well with the bracelets that I made. So let's set that one aside. Put that in there. Okay, and now I'm going to make a little more complicated of a design. I'm going to be using these forms, and these forms, like, you could bead around the inside of it. I could see like getting some seed beads and doing some brick stitch along the inside of it, or wire wrapping some crystals around in this part of it. That would be gorgeous and beautiful and probably well worth it. But for these, I want to put these Art Deco fans in the middle, right there. And I would like this drop to dangle from below, and these guys to be up above. So it's going to be dangly, but it's going to be black and gold and dangly. And for this, I'm going to be using a couple of head pins for these drops, and I'm going to use the beading wire for putting the rest of this together. So let's make our drops real quick, and I'm just going to do one at a time, setting that aside. For the second one, we'll make it off camera. You guys don't have to sit through the whole thing, so I'm going to go ahead and make my drop here, same way I did the other ones. We bend the top at a 90-degree angle, lop off all but 1 centimeter of your wire. And then roll this back into a simple loop. All right. Now, how are we going to put this together? I think I have an idea. Let's get a length of beading wire. Cut that off. And I'm going to find the center, or the center-ish. It doesn't matter if one is super longer than the other, as long as both ends can go through all of the beads. Well, not all of them. I'm going to have one end through the drop. Now I'm going to pass my beading wire through one of these holes, going front to back or back to front, however you want to look at it. I don't think there is a front and back on these. And the other one through the same hole, going in the opposite direction, so they're crisscrossing applesauce through that hole in here. Let's pull it a little bit so that we are getting our drop up to where we want it to be. Nope. I want it on the other side of that ray. So let's pull that out. There we go. On that side of the ray, I think. Yes, on that side of the ray. That's good. All right. Now I'm going to pass this end, because it's coming out on that side. I'm going to pass it through so that I can work with the wire on this side of this binding. And I'm going to pass both ends of this through my Art Deco fan bead, going in the same direction all the way through here till it is sitting right there. Right above that. All right, so I'm gonna take one of these wires and pass it back so it's behind what I'm looking at. And I'm going to choose one of these that is opposite that so that it's centered. And I'm going to go through it back to front or right to left, depending on how you're looking at it, with my front wire, which now becomes my back wire. And then I'm going to take this back wire and go through the same hole, going in the opposite direction from back to front, so that that becomes, instead of the back wire, my front wire. Boom. There we go. Now I'm going to just give this a little tug to tighten it. Just a little tug. There we go. And now I'm going to get my diagonally faceted coin bead, and I'm going to pass both of these lengths of wire through that coin bead going in the same direction. So it is sitting above our little sunburst and our fan and our drop all in a row. And I'm gonna go grab my crimp tube. See, this is my idea, and I'm actually really, really happy that it is working out for me for using this sun finding and some beading wire. Now, you could probably do this with like some 26 gauge wire as well, and then you wouldn't have to, or 24 gauge, easy to bend wire, something that will pass through these holes two at a time. That's what I'm saying, 24, 26 gauge. You could do that with these as well. You don't have to use beading wire for it. But now that we've got that there, let me put my crimp bead on both of these strands of wire. One of these is longer than the other, so I'm just going to bend the longer strand back down through that crimp bead. And I guess back down through that bead as well. So this is going to make my loop. Then I attach my it's hard to grab. There we go. My loop that I attach my my ear wire to. All right. When I grab my magical crimper, I'm making sure that there's a little bit of space between this bead and the crimp tube so that I can fit my magical crimper in there. All right. And I'm going to press down once. That crimps it but leaves me some corners, and if I go at it from a different angle and I rotate and squeeze from all of these different angles, it will fold those rough edges down and make me a nice round crimp bead right there at the top. I love these. I am terrible at normal crimping. I love being able to make a smooth round crimp bead and not have to mess with crimp covers, which I'm also terrible at. It's one of my favorite things. And it's Beadsmith is where I got my, that's the brand of magical crimpers. I had a question on one of my other videos, and that's where it is. Let me get a little ear wire for this guy. And I cannot tell you how pleased I am that this came out the way I wanted it to. So that is something that you can wear. It's a lot more statement-y than some of these other ones, but it still says party. It still says Art Deco. It still is classy and pretty. So we're going to make a second one later. That is my, let's see, how many have I made? 1, 2, 3, 4. That is my 4th earring. All right, now let's get to my 5th earring. And that is going to be using this 2-hole bead. And I don't know if I want to use wire with this or beading wire. I think I'm going to use beading wire with this. But let me grab a couple of these guys out. Those are the crystal vitriol drugs that go with this. And maybe another one of these. Yeah, that's the ticket. All right, and I'm gonna just grab a couple of these too. These are more of those 3mm fire polish beads. Yeah, I think these will go nicely with those. And yeah, I'm gonna just use some beading wire for this one too. And again, that's gonna be enough for beading. And again, you can do this with craft wire, but I feel like doing it with beading wire because I feel like it'll be a little bit less stress probably on some of these other beads, like this dagger bead. That's going to be dropped down here to the very bottom of, if I'm holding both ends and finding the middle. I'm going to drop this guy down all the way to the bottom there. And then on each end of my beading wire, I'm going to add one of these fire polish beads, one of these drugs. Let's do that on both sides. And now I'm going to pass each end of these through each of these 2 holes, one of these holes. So they're going through both holes, but not at the same time. I don't know how to describe that more accurately. We're just going to pull it through like that. All right, now let's move that over here. I don't want it to be too tight because then I don't have that little drop hanging down. And up here at the top, I'm going to add another. Actually, no, we want these crystal vitriol drugs down here. So there's some 4mm beads. They are very pretty. Gonna have that right there next to it. And then the matte black and gold 3mm fire polish on either side. Putting these on each end of the wire. And now I'm going to see if this wire will fit through with 2 strands, will fit through this pearl at the same time. It might not. The hole might be too small for that, might be too tight. I'm going to give it a try and see if it works for me. Oof. And it does. Take a look at that. All right. Let's pull these through. It's pretty tight. There we go. Now I can grab another crimp tube. There we go, gold one. And I can make myself a little loop right here to pass my, again, you can use wire with this, although, again, if you're going to do two at once, I'd probably stick with 24 or 26 gauge wire, because even 22 gauge wire, you probably won't be able to pass through with this pearl without breaking it or doing damage to the bead. So yeah, you could do this with craft wire. That would be fine. Probably don't want to crimp it if you're using craft wire, but I'm using beading wire, so I'm going to use a crimp. And I'm just going to move this away a little bit when I get my crimp tube out here. Oh, before I do that though, I'm going to bend this back. Almost forgot my steps. Got to bend this back through in order to make my loop. There we go. It's going to be a decent sized loop for passing a ear wire through. And again, I'm making sure that I have room next to the pearl so that I don't damage my bead. And I'm going to do my little first crimp, makes it look like a ravioli. And then you just keep going. Change your angle, move it around, and then squeeze it. Open, move, squish, open, move, squish. And that smooths it out. All right, now this beading wire was the beading wire that came with the Softflex design kit, and I am using the crimp tubes that came in that design kit. They are 2x2 crimp tubes. And this is 0.019 diameter wire. These crimp tubes also work with 0.018 if you're going to be substituting a different beading wire with this tutorial. All right, let me grab that ear wire. Here we go. And this is earring number 5. And the last one that I made with the Dollar Bead Box. So the very last one, and this one's going to probably be a little more complex and a little more complicated. But I think I can do it. So for this one, this is some of the findings that came in the Softflex design kit. It came in the what is it called? The bead mix. And I think there are still some bead mixes. If you didn't get the design kit, you might still be able to get the bead mix on the Softflex site, because they always post extras. And something I noticed with this is not every one of these leaves or petals has a little hole next to it. And some of them, the hole is on the opposite side. Like there, this one has multiple holes next to it. This one has a hole on the opposite side. But I also noticed that if you overlay these, you can match up some of these holes. Let's see, that one, that hole will kind of match up together like that. And I love the way this looks. And then if I plop this guy right here in the middle and put this pearl in here, I think that would look absolutely lovely. So I'm gonna cut off some wire. I don't know how much I'm gonna need, so I'm just gonna cut off a good 7 inches of wire here. And that's my 22 gauge wire. All right. So let's find where that hole matches up. The hole next to it. There we go. And I'm going to stick this wire through that hole. From front to back, from back to front. I don't think it really matters a whole lot, you know, and it might actually work better if I do it one finding at a time. Okay. I'm going to bend this up. Actually, no. I'm going to bend this up because that's going to be my loop, and this is what I'm going to wrap with. All right, so from here, I am going to pass this wire through this filigree bead cap on that side, through this pearl over here, and I'm holding this there. And this is going to be the real fun part here. It's trying to get this to go through on the other side of this. So let's figure this out. Okay, I'm gonna want that there. Then I'm gonna want those to stay together. On the opposite end. All right. I think I know where I'm going. Okay, so I want my wire to go through the other end. And you know what? It might actually have been easier for me to do it this way. Hold on. So what if I pass it through here, pass it through my pearl, and then while it's sitting there on that pearl, I tip this up so it goes through the other side. And maybe in order for it to fit right, I might need to bend it just a little bit. pearl will still fit on here. Yes, perfect. All right, so now I go through this hole, through my pearl. See, I'm saving the fiddly one for last. And why can't it just go through the wire there like that? Through the hole. It's because the pearl is too big. Do I need a shallower bead? Do I have a shallower bead? Something that isn't nearly as rounded as that pearl. I mean, we've got the smaller pearls. I just really like the way that that big pearl kind of looked with that. Would this go well? It's not as impactful. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over, and I'm going to start with the pearl. That is what I'm going to do. New piece of wire, new plan of attack. All right. Now, I'm going to set this pearl about like this one's a little bit longer on this side than this one, but it's not that much longer. So it's like if the middle is here, it's just a little bit to the left of there. I'm just going to give it a real slight bend for this wire so that I can put one end of the wire through a hole in this filigree and have the other end of the wire. Ooh, you know what? I think we're gonna have to do a serious bend on this. All right. Now you're going to go through that side, and you're going to go through that side. Aha! This is how we do it. And now, just pinching the pearl in this so that I can use my fingers to kind of bend these wires up a little bit more. Actually, no. These wires are going back together right to the middle. I'm going to cross them over the back. Like that. I'm just going to squish the sides of this filigree thing on all sides so that it is surrounding that pearl a little bit better. It's not as wide. So that's the nice thing about these malleable ones. You can make them fit better. All right, so now that we've got these crossing in back, right here, where that hole is, you can see, I'm going to take my pliers. I'm going to bend this straight up. I'm going to do the same thing with the other wire so that these wires are right next to each other, running parallel. Now, I'm going to put these in here like this. I don't know why I didn't start with this like this. This is so much easier. What was I doing? We don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows what Becky's doing. All right, so now that I've got both of these, like that, I'm going to find one of those overlapping holes. We are going to put our wire through it. Might be easier to find on this side. There it is. I found it. Overlapping hole right there. So I'm going to take one of these wires and bend it up toward that overlapping hole. And I'm going to bend it around and put it through. And it's wire, so go slow, be gentle, forceful if you need to. Try not to kink your wire. I am going to give this a little bit of a tug. All right. Push that back. And that is going to go back here like that. There we go. So now I've got my pearl inside all my filigree bits. I'm going to bend this up, straight back. And I'm pinching this together so that I can bend this around. I'm just going to wire wrap that a few times. See, this one is much more complicated. But I think worth it in the end. This is just gold and pearls. All right, now this one I can make myself a loop up here at the top. Bend it and then wrap around all the way around, and I'm going to wrap around that wrap. Down there on the bottom. Whew. This one took a lot of figuring. But I am happy with the way it has turned out. Yeah, it wouldn't have been nearly as impactful if I'd used this bead instead. And also this bead is probably a little bit as wide. All right, so we start with the pearl, we go through both ends of this filigree bead cap, and then through the center of this, we bend one wire through these matchy-matchy holes and around the front, bend the other wire straight up, and then we can do some wrapping. And we have our 6th earring and our 3rd one from the Deco the Halls design kit. All right, so let me get all of these out, take another last look at them, and then I am going to make the 2nd earring for all of these pairs because they are not a pair of earrings if there's only one of them. All right, so here we go. These were from Deco the Halls. Some real statement findings that we are able to do some fun things with. And then these were from the Dollar Bead Box and Dollar Bead Bag. Again, we had some gold and black and pearls on all of these. Why are you, oh, there we go. And some of these were easier than others, and some of them were more complicated than others, but they were all a lot of fun to make. And I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you are not subscribed to my channel and you want to see more of my makes, hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, hit the like button, and I will talk to you guys later.